Right, okay, we're going to start this build off with building the front half of the cockpit. The cockpit it's a separate module to the rest of the fuselage. That's to facilitate building different versions of Liberators. So we need to identify all the parts that we need for all these stages right up to this part here, and then we move on to the back of the fuselage. So we'll get all these parts together and then I'll explain what we're going to do. So all the parts we need are all here. I've left those on there so I can paint them. So we've got all the parts we need for the front cockpit. Now most of them are green. Liberators varied in colours inside, but generally speaking they seem to be like a dark green colour at the front end of the cockpit. So we're going to assemble all the parts that we need first that are greens that we can paint in one go, and all the other parts we'll then paint as well so we can then assemble them. So we'll get that together. Okay, the first thing we're going to fit is the instrumentation panel onto this fuselage floor, which fits just there. And then we're going to fit that piece just onto there like that. And we can then fit this bulkhead which goes there like that. And all that bit can be painted green. So what we're going to do is prime that grey, I think, and then we've got all the other bits that we've got in here can also be primed grey as well before we assemble them. Some of them we can glue together, so I'll be back when I've painted that grey. And we're going to glue the bases into the chairs. So the chair fits into that little arrangement like that. Like so. Right, okay, more bits to glue in. There's these sides to go in here. So that one goes there like that. Like so, and then fit that piece into there like that. And put that. And we've got a fire extinguisher to fit on to there. So we've got two sides, a floor put in, and two fire extinguishers fitted on there. Now everything there now, all these parts here can be painted cockpit, the green, the appropriate cockpit green. In this case it's going to be quite dark green. Fitted two fire extinguishers there too as well. Okay, all the parts have now been painted in black primer and ready to be painted green. I've used black primer just because some of the details that I'm going to paint, like these bits here, are already black. It just saves having to change colours over. Alright, all the components for the cockpit have been painted green now. Now what I'm doing now, I'm just masking off some of the little bits that are painted black. So these boxes are black, so I've masked around those so we can paint those black again. And I've got the radio position that's got a brown tabletop, so I've painted that brown, and I've masked off the radio, so I'll paint that black again as well. So it's just a case of going through the little bits to detail them. I've brush painted the seat bases, and it was easier to brush paint them than to try and mask those. Not really possible to do that. So each of the seats have been painted, and then we've got the stool at the back for the navigator as well. So I'll get those finished up and we'll get this assembled. We're doing it to fit some weight in the nose. It needs weight in this part of the nose, and it needs weight in here just to get the nose wheel onto the ground. Okay, we've got 3 decals to fit onto the instrument panel here, onto that face there, and onto a little panel there, so I'll get those fitted now. Okay, on the instructions it shows to fit 25 grams of weight in that space there, and another 35 grams of weight in that space there, which I find rather difficult to achieve. Even with just lead, I just can't get enough in there. So the alternative is just put the ladder down at the back, and that just supports the tail from dipping anyway. So it's a much simpler solution really. So now we can fit that bit to that bit and create that assembly like that. Okay, I've just got some water-based paint on there, on this joint, this brush, and it's very sparse. I'm just dry brushing the sides of the fuselage just to bring out the highlights in the well, some of the detail. Okay, at this point this cockpit area can be fitted into the fuselage, half if you like, so that bit fits just there like that. So to glue that into place like that, and now we can fit the other half. Like so, let's glue that together. Okay, we're now moving on to the fuselage sides and the rear part of the fuselage assembly. Now these fuselage sides various colours. Up to that bulkhead point there, that's still dark green. The Bombay itself is like a ghost grey, pale grey colour, and then the back end of this fuselage is zinc chromate yellow with aluminium exposed bearers. If we can do that, I will do that. And then the back end is just green again. So I'm going to paint those the appropriate colours, and then I'll be back. Okay, I've painted the whole thing light grey, which is basically the same colour as the central Bombay area anyway, so we can use that as that colour. Now this part here is dark green, and this part here is dark green, so I'm going to paint those two first, then we'll move on to the next colour. Okay, progress so far. This area now needs to be painted silver to start with, just so I can highlight the bearers, because they're actually silver, and then the back part is chrome yellow, so I'm going to get those sprayed silver now. Okay, I've sprayed the fuselage side silver and I've masked off the bearers so I can keep those silver and then print zinc chromate yellow on top of that now. So I'll be back when I've done that on both sides. Right, okay, zinc chrome yellow has now been applied, and I've removed the masks, so you can now see that we've got the bearers are now silver. I've also fitted the navigator's area at the moment at the front there. You can't see that hardly at all when it's finished, but there it is. So next, move on to the next part. Building up some of the other sub-assemblies now. When you do it, this bulkhead fits to that other piece there, this fastens to that piece there. When you do it, dry fit it so that you can get this bulkhead in the right place until the glue sets. So that's quite important to do. This main spar here glues to this piece here, and then we've got this piece to glue onto there as well. So they can be glued together before we start priming anything. Okay, at this point in the build, I've painted most of the interior components. We can start assembling parts now. This is the main wing spar. It's important that this gets put in the right place. It does fit, so you can't really get it wrong. So it just fits there like that. And the gluing contact points are just on the inside there and on this bearer here. So get that glued into place next. And at this point, that bulkhead there can be fitted as well, so we've just glued that in place, which is section 27. Next we can fit this lower floor, which kind of, it's snaps into place just there. It sits just there. That's where all the rear gunners hang out and stuff. That is glued in place. It's a good idea to just dry fit everything. Make sure it all clicks together still. Every time you add a piece, just to make sure it all fits. In this case it definitely does. Okay, everything's fitted now. We've got the rear part here, we've even got a toilet at the back there. I've got the doors glued in the open position with the gun ammunition belts there. Now when you fit those ammunition belts, temporarily hold the gun in place so that you know this lines up with it when you fit it later on, because you fit the guns near the end so they don't get stuck and get in the way. So they're both like mirror images of themselves. So what I want to do now is give the whole thing a coat of satin varnish, just to seal all the paint in and everything, and then we can give it a bit of a weather just to bring a bit of life to it. It looks a bit bland at the moment. Okay, now we're just going to add some basic wash all over. I use this all the time, just to give it a bit more, I don't know. Quite liberal with it. It's quite important to varnish the model before you do this, because if you don't, it'll make a right mess. So basically let that dry and we'll be back. Okay, the wash is dried and I've removed most of it with some white spirit. I'm just dusting over with some sand pastel just to take the shine off, like the panel liner if you like. And again, it picks up bits of definition on the edges of things. It just flattens everything down again. So we'll just don't forget to do the toilet. There we go. Quite happy with that really. It's very, very detailed. It's just a shame you can't see it when it's finished. You can see a tiny bit of it maybe, but not much. So it's just a case of, I don't know, it's good practice to do things like this, because you will get models where you can see things like this, so it's good practice to, all the techniques are there, and you can see it on your photographs and when you're doing videos like this. Will be quite a dusty aeroplane, I should think, just because, well, it's a desert colours, isn't it? I'm assuming it's used in a desert environment, so quite happy for it to be dusty. No point doing that bit, really won't show. tend to find sand is a pretty universal thing to use. There we go. Quite happy with that. Got a lot of work in that. There was about, I've worked on and off for this thing for about 2 days now, just putting detail inside a model that you can't ever see. It's quite frustrating really, but it is what it is. So it's an education though, because you're kind of learning how the aeroplane's built and how it all works inside. So it's a kind of a, I don't know, it's a history lesson, isn't it? So now those two things are built. We can join those two sides together now. Boy, me, I'm glad we got to that point. So you've got these two halves like this. And throughout the whole build process, I've made sure that every time I've added a piece in there, that it would fit together. But just before you look, have a good look at it before you put it together, because you won't ever see it again. You can't see the bomb bay though. The bomb bay is quite big. There's lots going on in there. So yeah, we can put more in there. There's more stuff to add yet. So next job, get the fuselage sides glued together. Right, the fuselage sides are now joined together and all the seam lines are cleaned up and paddle lines re-established. So quite happy with all that. No filler was required or anything like that. There's a few. It's going to be interesting one to mask is this, because it's got a lot of exposed holes in it, and I don't want to get overspray inside everything. But there's one thing we can fill in. That piece needs to go on there like that. Right, these are the bombs made up, but I'm not going to fit them at the moment because I've decided from a painting perspective it's better to mask off the bomb bay and the front here and at the tail here and under there, just to keep overspray. I'll have to put some in there somehow as well, out of the cockpit, out of that fuselage while we're painting it. And I want to be able to fit the canopy without getting dust inside it. So to do that I just have to make sure it's masked up very well to do that. So I'll fit the bombs at the end of the build instead. Okay, the instructions then move on to making up the tail. Once you've done that, you just glue the two halves together and then the tail plane fits on there. Now it fits on there so well, I'm really impressed how well that fits actually. I'm going to fit that after I've painted it. And the reason for that is I don't have to worry about masking underneath there. So I can just paint that as a complete separate unit. And that's also the case for the actual tail plane, or the fins if you like. So you can't get them in the wrong place because they've got keys on them. So you can also make that bit up and glue it on afterwards as well, because that's one colour and that's masked grey underneath and blue and brown on the top. So I'm going to make those as separate items. And the wings fit. I've just dry fitted these at the moment. They fit into little slots just there. So they kind of engage into a slot, like so. And again, fit perfect. So we can also fit the wings separately. I mean, there may be a little bit of discrepancy when it comes to that joint there, but I can always touch that up afterwards. So what I'm going to do is build the fuselage as a separate item completely, paint it, finish it and everything, and do the same with the wings. And it means working on the wings is a lot easier to do than as a complete model, because you're not manoeuvring the whole thing around. So the next job to now, I've put some, as I say, I've got foam in all the holes and everything. I'll do a better job at doing that. I'm going to seal it up even more. I'm now going to fit this front cockpit. All you do is basically plug it into there and then put glue in there and just glue that on in place. And then we can look at getting the canopy on perhaps, I don't know yet. But that's the next job, get that front nose fitted on. Okay, it's pretty much masked up everywhere apart from the tail there. So we can now fit the canopy at this point. I'm confident now that all the holes are blocked up so we're not going to get dust in it. We're giving it a good clean inside. So that just sits on there like that. And to glue that on, all we're going to do, a bit of extra thin in those corners there. And that's all it needs. Just let that dry. Okay, these components now ready for a coat of black primer. The canopy's been masked with liquid mask basically, so all that needs to be black. Now the wings are built, but we're not gluing them in. It's a very high aspect ratio wing is this, really long wing. It's almost like a glider wing, but we're not going to fit those yet because I want to paint the fuselage and the wings separately, because you can plug them in afterwards and it makes masking under here easier and it makes working on the fuselage a lot easier. So we're going to take advantage of the way that this thing's built and do it that way. Alright, I'm just working on painting the fuselage with the, it's basically desert sand. It varies as this paint, you get different kinds of it. But basically we're shooting it at 15 psi. And what we're doing, we're just filling in the boxes of all the panel lines, but we're trying to leave a little bit of the panel line behind. So what you do, you build it up. They're quite large panels of these, so the centre of the panel can be painted like so. Just keep away from the edges. Got too much paint coming out there. Initially this is what we're doing now. Quite a slow, quite a slow process, but you've got to be precise with it. So just take your time with it. So fill in the boxes, and as you fill in the box, if you like, and you keep away from the edge, it kind of naturally overspills onto the edge anyway, which gives you the effect that you want, but you can go over the top of it afterwards. So less is more with this to start with. It's a very plain looking aeroplane, this. It's difficult to make it look interesting. There's very little markings on it either. It's got very few decals on it. And you can't overly weather it because it was never weathered in the first place. What I've done there is I've gone over that again, like I did last night. So it's just leaving a little bit of panel lining behind. It looks better to the naked eye than it does on camera actually. So yeah, just it needs to be all done really to get a visual of it. I've got to say I'm not looking forward to putting a decal here because I've got to go over that bit, which is going to be a nightmare. But anyway, so I'll keep pressing on with that and get the fuselage painted, and then we've got to move on to the bottom of it, which is obviously grey. Okay, that's the painting completed. I ended up overspraying that demarcation line with some more brown, just to try and emulate what they did in reality. Because these aircraft were actually green to start with, and then I think they were sent away to be painted over the top of the green, and the grey would have been a standard colour, so that it would have kind of gone over that quite crudely, really. So I've just airbrushed it in, so it's just bled over the edges. So I'm quite happy with that. So what the next job with this is to get the decals on and give it a coat. Well, I need to give it a coat of lacquer first, or at least some of it, so I can then put the decals on it, and then we can put a final coat and actually can finish this part almost. I mean, I might need to do some touching up on top of the wings and stuff when I fit them, but I'm quite happy with it as it is. I'm very keen to get the canopy masks off. I always am, really, to see if it's works out alright. What I'm not looking forward to is this decal here. There's these rather large decals to go there, but they bridge that door opening, which is going to be a really difficult thing to do. But yeah, next job, get some lacquer on it. Just working on the decals. There's no way to get these decals to conform around that shape. It's impossible. So you've got to cut them up, basically, chop up into little pieces and then add them accordingly. They may need touching up with some paint as well afterwards, but keep pressing on with it. Oh, there we go, it's all the decals on, all the masks taken off, and a flat coat of varnish applied, so I'm quite happy with that. It's gone really well. This decal around here was really difficult to do, but you just had to cut it out and then add a piece on and then touch it up a little bit with some paint. it wasn't difficult really, but it was just time consuming. So yeah, there we go. So next job is to, well, I can move on to the wings actually now, but I can just get the front screen fitted. I don't want to do that yet though, because it's got guns in it and they'll just stick out and get caught and things. So I might wait to do the front screen until I get the wings on and the undercarriage and things, and I can put it down. So for now I'll just leave it at that, I think, so I'm happy with that. So yeah, nice paint job, I like that. It's interesting colour to work with, is this. It's very bland, but it needs a bit of effort to get something out of it. But yeah, the decals have gone now, lovely, really nice. Next job, get on with the wings. Right, moving on to the wings, these are the undercarriage bays, if you like. There's like a piston arrangement that you need to glue in there, so we've glued that into there like that. And then that, it shows fitting into here. Let me get this the right way around. It fits in like so. So you may notice once you've glued that into place, getting into the undercarriage bay can be quite tricky. This is what it looks like when it's finished, or when it's built, if you like. I haven't built it, it's just taped together. This is the undercarriage assembly. And what I've done, I've basically, when I made these up, I made them up in here first. So this was in there, like so. And then I've fitted all the components in there like that, and this main strut here fits into that slot just there. Doing that when it's in the wing is quite tricky, so it's better to build that assembly before you actually assemble the wing. So you jump forward to the undercarriage and build the undercarriage legs first, so it helps you out later on. Undercarriages are always a bit tricky when they've been built, so so then you end up with the undercarriage legs, which it shows being assembled here. So that's this strut here, that's that strut there, and you glue it onto the side of the leg there. We've got the door to fit on, but we can fit that afterwards. So build the doors, build these legs while you're building the actual undercarriage bays. So when you've got the bays, when you've got this finished, inside here is a yellow undercoat chromate, and then you've got these are grey, and so the undercarriage legs are grey as well. So you need to paint in there first, the yellow chromate, and we're going to have the flaps down on this model. So the flaps look like this when they're finished, so they fit basically there, and in there is all yellow basically. So we'll get on to painting the parts now. Okay, build the engines up. There's just these components here, they only fit one way around, so that bit fits on there. Just push it into place, and then glue this bit on the top of it. Just make sure it lines up. And then we have this piece. Where's that one bit gone? That piece goes in there. That's a spinner, or a spinner hub. And it is got a key on it. And just drop some liquid cement into there. And you've got the cowl, but we're going to put that on last because we want to paint it first. That bit fits on there like that. But paint all that bit black, and then just highlight the engine parts if you like. Then we'll paint inside there, basically the colour of the inside of the cowl. I haven't decided what it is yet, and then that goes on afterwards. Okay. And then you end up with 4 of those like that. Okay, we're moving on to painting the inside of the wings. Now inside of this area here and around the flap area is zinc chromate yellow, a bit like a similar colour to the, well, it is the same colour as inside of the fuselage. So the first thing we need to do is to paint this area here. I've primed it in grey, which is appropriate for painting yellow. So basically, just spray this area. I'm not painting all of it black, just some of it. Okay, that's in preparation for when we do the camo, the actual colour of the outside skin underneath the aircraft. But what we need to do first is mask, paint this edge silver. So to do that, we need to mask it off. Do that now. So basically, just masked it from the outside now. I can just paint that edge from this side. It doesn't matter about paint getting on this face because it won't show. So we're going to paint that silver on the inside. Yeah, painted the inner rim edge of that wheel bay silver. So when it's on there like this, try and get it back on, it matches up with the actual part of that bay, if you like, all the way around. So the next job now, we can actually glue that into place now. But I need to mask off the silver now because I want to paint the camo on the outside. So I'll be back when I've got that masked up. Okay, what we need to do now is mask this edge here, which I'll try and do quickly. It's a very subtle bit of detail this, but I think it kind of it's worth doing it. It's quite a plain aeroplane, is this? It's not a. There's not a right lot of contrast on the colour scheme, if you like. It's just very plain, so we have to try and make it look a bit more interesting with other things. So this is what we're trying to do here. Doesn't have to line up now, it's only that part that had to be accurate. So you get the idea. So it's very subtle, but might as well give it a shot. I'll just finish it off. Okay, so that edge is now masked off. I can now start painting the bottom of the wing. Not all of it, just enough so I can mask it off later when we finish off the rest of it. Right, okay, now just basically doing what we're going to do all over this in this area at the moment. Just for reference, I'm using AK Real Colours, diluted 50-50 with their own thinner. Okay, when you join the wings, I've chosen to use super glue on this box. You can be quite liberal with it actually. It's kind of important that you get a good joint here. Don't worry about joining any other part of the wing, just that bit will do nicely for now. Okay, right, the wings and the tail have been painted the same as we've done the fuselage, so that's all complete. It took quite a bit of doing actually because you have to mask off for these de-icing rubber boots that's on the leading edges of all the flying surfaces. Done the bottom of the in grey as well. So that's been, they've been gloss coated, just a very light coat of gloss. They didn't really need it all over really. There's not many decals on this model. That's the decal that goes on the tailplane, on the fins. That's all there is on those. And then you've got the wings, there's just a decal there. These red fuel tank decals. We've got nothing underneath that side. And obviously we've got an American star on that side. So we're not done yet though, there's still some more work to do. We've got the... I'm gonna completely finish these before I fit them. So we need to fit the flaps. We need to fit the undercarriage legs, and then I need to give them a coat of satin of matte varnish. But yeah, we'll get on with. Yeah, I think I'll fit the flaps next. Right, okay, the flaps have been painted up. Just basically the appropriate colours on each side, and they attach at these points just here, and very securely. It just fit snugly just there like that. So it's important to clearly paint off the areas where it's going to be attached, and I think I'll stick those on there with a bit of super glue, I think. Right, okay, we're amassing parts that have been painted but not fitted yet. So these are the cowlings. I've painted those up. They fit onto each engine nacelle like this. They just kind of just basically go like that. Painted the engine silver. I'm just going to drop some panel liner into there just to blacken them up a little bit. But I don't want to fit the engines just yet because I want to do some weathering on the top of the engine, like the nacelles if you like. Generally speaking, they tend to get a bit black and oily around this area here, and they get really black and oily underneath there. Now this isn't a weathered aeroplane. It was new when it actually when it was flying about. It was quite a new aeroplane, so it didn't last very long before it was crashed in the desert, obviously. I don't want to over weather it, but the engines will always give out smoke and black stuff, so I want to do some streaking underneath there and a little bit on the top, but not much. And then I'll do some more on the engines once they're fitted. I want to do it before they're fitted though, because it's easier to get to that area. So I'll get the weathering done on there first. Right, I'm just doing a bit of staining around the exhausts. Most of the exhaust comes out of this intercooler here, but you do get some blackening around the tops of the engine. Just basically oil comes from the engine and stuff. So I'm just using dry powder to create this sort of effect. I haven't fitted the intercooler yet. I'm just going to put some around that edge as well. I've just put masking tape on just to make sure we don't get it in the wrong places really. This is just soot, which is basically what we'd get. Don't want to overdo it because, as I've said a few times in this video already, that it's not a heavily weathered aircraft really, but this would happen on any aeroplane I think of this time. So we're just getting some streaking, like a little vent cover. I don't know what that is. You wouldn't get it on the inside of the flap. I don't want it on there. Okay, I'm going to fit the intercoolers. I'm just going to drop a little bit of, they don't have to be super strong because they're not heavy. These are the intercoolers, I'm trying to show them. They've been painted black and then pencil lead, and then a little bit of a dusting of some rust, but I should maybe put some more on afterwards. And they are keyed, they are different shapes. They do fit really easily, honestly. Just drop them in there like that. Okay, we're fitting the pre-assembled undercarriage now. So that bit fits kind of behind there. You can't get glue into that part, it's impossible. So the only part you can glue it, really, is on the main leg and on that strut there, which is quite strong enough when it's in place. Okay, building the tyres up, they're in two halves, just glue them together, and it's the same with the hubs, but if you look at, they're on a cone, they're a cone shape. So basically paint them separately, you don't need to assemble them first. And if you assemble them through the cone, that just basically goes through them a tapered side, and you just give them a healthy push, and then end up with a nicely painted wheel. I've done them silver, they're supposed to be grey actually, but I think they look nicer in silver. Okay, the wheels are fitted. I've also fitted this very important device, which is a ladder. Now the ladder is holding the tail up, because if you don't put weight in the nose, it's incredibly tail heavy. This part of the plastic here is very, very heavy. So the thing just crashes to the ground. So I knew this when I was building it, and I didn't want to put the weight in the nose because it puts an awful lot of strain on the nose leg. Instead, I'm putting an awful lot of strain on the tail, on the ladder instead. But it's quite strong actually, and it is nearly the perfect length. Now, at the moment, I haven't glued the wings on yet. But when you put it down, I'll just try and turn it over without the wings falling off. It works perfectly. Obviously, if you're not rough with it, but it's just a tiny bit too long, because it causes a rock on the bottom and the carriage legs. So what I will do is nip off a little bit off the bottom of the legs, but I'm going to wait till I've glued the wings on. I don't want to bend the ladder because it may weaken the joint on the where I've glued it on. I've glued it on with super glue and that doesn't bend, it just cracks. So yeah, we can get the wings glued on now. So the plan is to get these glued on. And once they're on, we can start working on other things. So to glue the wings on, I don't want to glue them on here because it'll make a mess onto the fuselage. They do fit quite well anyway, so I'm thinking of basically just putting some glue down in that area, just some super glue if you like, and then just pushing them on, holding it, and that will hold them on quite well. So I'm going to do that now. Okay, the wings are fitted. I'm happy with how they fit as well. There isn't anything else doing to them at all. I just fitted them by just dribbling super glue inside the wing halves themselves and then just putting them together, and they're very strong now. They're very strong indeed, so I'm quite happy with that. It looks like it's getting there, but there's still a lot to do on this model. It's looking pretty impressive now. I'm really happy with it. It's a very nice kit, is this? Very nice kit. There's a lot of work in it, a heck of a lot of work. So to finish it off, it sounds like you're finishing it off, but I've got propellers to fit. I've got a front screen to fit with the guns in. That means it needs masking and painting. We need to fit the bombs on the racks, and then we need to fit the bomb bay doors. We need to fit the propellers, paint the propellers, put the decals on the propellers, and then we need to fit the two turrets. There's a turret on the top there and there's a turret at the back, and then there's little guns to fit in the sides, and I think that's it, but there's probably a couple more days work in it, I think, at this point, so I'll keep pressing on. Just adding a bit more paddle liner in there just to add a bit more staining on the engines. Dry brushing silver on the engine because they tend to get a bit scuffed up with the prop wash. There's not much silvering on this, but just a little bit. It's like just get sandblasted from the propeller wash. We're working on the turrets now. So this is the top turret, and then that fits. I'll get this right around. That bit goes there like that, and then that bit glues to that bit there. So we get that glued together. Right, this is the top turret built, and then we've got the gun assembly which needs painting separately. Goes onto there like that, and then you've got the top screen which hooks over there. Fits on there like that. So I need to get that painted up. It's got an oxygen bottle at the bottom there, but I'm not going to paint that any different colour because you cannot see it at all. Okay, that's the top turret fitted. It's just push fitted in there, but it doesn't fall out. Very time consuming things to make these little things, these little bits of detail. Yeah, I've got the rear turret to do, which is even more complicated to build, but yeah, I'm quite happy with that. I've painted the front screen. I'm just removing the liquid mask. It's always a bit of a nerve-wracking experience. Takes absolutely ages to put this stuff on in the first place, but without any normal masks it's kind of difficult, so cutting paper ones is quite difficult. Usually need a bit of a touch up, but at this scale it's pretty good really. So I'll get all these done. Kind of just go around the edges with a toothpick and then touch up any bits that are missed with a brush if necessary. So let's keep doing that. That's the front screen done. I painted it green before I painted the colour, so that's the inside colour of the cockpit. So that we just need to give that a bit of a touch up, and then the guns can be fitted in it, and then they can go on the model. And nose glasses have been fitted with all the guns in. It's like a porcupine, is this thing. Really tricky fitting the guns because you've obviously got to glue them in somehow. You can't put the glue on first because as you push the gun barrel through it ends up covered in glue, so you can't do that. So you've just got to go for it with some glue on the inside, but it worked alright. I've glued the nose cone on with glue and glaze again, so that works out quite nicely. So it's coming together now. So we've got I've also fitted the waist guns in, so the waist guns are now fitted, like so. Just super glued those in again. They are handed, so when you fit the ammunition belts in, they only fit a certain way, so the gun aligns up, so there's one pointing down and one pointing up a little bit, so you've got to get them in the right sides. So that's done okay. So that's that guns in. I think there's 10 gun barrels altogether, and you can't add them all up. So all I've got to do now is build the waist, the tail gun, the components. They're all masked up, ready to paint. And that's that bit done, and then we've got propellers to fit, the bombs to fit, the bomb bay doors, and then we can call it a do. I've got to put the aerial back on here. I broke it off, so I need to refit that. So I'll get the rear turret finished now, I think. That's the rear turret made up, so that can be fitted to the model as well. Okay, all the weaponry is fitted. Got the rear gun on there, all the cluster of guns at the front, top turret on there. You don't have the bottom one on because the ladder's out, so we've got the side guns on. So everything is on that model now, apart from we need to fit. I'll try and pick this up. It's getting fragile as this now. It needs the bombs in and the bomb bay doors fitting and the propellers, and that's it. Propellers are already painted. I painted the propellers. I just need to put the yellow tips on and weather them a little bit, and that's it. So I'll crack on with that, and I'll hopefully get this finished by tomorrow. So get in there. Bombs are fitted. Make sure when you fit the bombs to the racks, you make up a left and a right hand side. Don't ask me how I know that. Okay, that's the bombs and the bomb bay doors fitted. Just bear in mind the ones at the back are tapered slightly at the back end. They're not the same shape, all four of them. The two front ones are the same, two front ones are the same. So there we go, that's the bombs and the doors fitted. A lot of work in those bombs, but you can't see. All the decals are on the side, so you can't see them. Right, calling this one finished. Propellers are fitted and just weathered a tiny bit with some dry powder. So it's difficult to show on camera now because it's quite a big model, very long wingspan. Very long wingspan. So there we are. Very nice model to build indeed. Don't take it on lightly. It's not a quick model to build. It's there's a lot of parts to it and a lot of thought needs to go into it when you're building it, and a lot of it you can't see when you're building it, so bear in mind when you're building it. As you've seen from the video already, most of the detail that you paint inside you can't see it, which you can. I say you can't see it, but it's subtle, but you can see in there, for instance, through that door. You can see in through the side door guns, gun bay doors, but you can't see this area here at all. Most of this tail end you can't see at all. So it's up to you if you want to paint it, but if I was building another one I would be a little bit more reserved as to how much detail I would do in there. If I did build another one, it'd be a Coastal Command colour scheme one. I think they look great, but they're different engines on those. So I don't know if Airfix are going to do one, hint hint. But yeah, nice. I quite like the colour scheme now I've done it. It's it does need the pre-shading to make it kind of give it a bit of interest. I think without that it would look a bit dull. But other than that, they're a thoroughly nice model to make. I like how you can make it in modular parts, as you can make the fuselage completely separately to the wings and then just plug them in afterwards. And you can with the tail area as well, because it all fits really well. There's no fit issues with any of this kit at all. It all fits really, really well indeed. So there's no dramas at all. So it's difficult to show on camera, because as I say, it's quite big. I like all the flap arrangements and how they work and everything, and all the undercarriage bays, and it's great. So it's just a lovely kit to build. I took a little bit of a risk with the not putting the weight in the nose, because you have to put about nearly 50 grams of weight in that nose there, and I would say it would be not a mistake, but you're asking an awful lot of that little nose leg there to deal with that. And this ladder at the back here supports the weight of it much better, I think. So there we go. One Lady Be Good. It would be great as a diorama, but you'd have to crash it, wouldn't you? You'd have to smash it up and break the tail off. It'd be a lot of work. I don't know if it could be done, but the details there inside the fuselage to kind of do that. So I suppose it does lend itself to that really. But making a diorama would be rather adventurous. But yeah, indeed. So there we go. One Airfix B-24 Liberator. Let it be good.